Hey, welcome to our show. I'm Goose, and our show's called Goose in the Wild, and we're glad to have you again. This is our 5th episode. I've got a great guest here tonight, and it's kind of an interesting topic that we've picked. The topic we've picked tonight is called, has to do with mountaineering. And so if you're one of those enthusiasts that's into hiking, trekking, and just basically spending the time on the mountain, when this show is for you. Hey, our special guest tonight is a neighbor of my dad's. His name is Jason Finlinson. And so we're going to just have Jason introduce himself, tell us where he's from, and a little bit about his personal background.
How you doing, Goose?
Good.
My name's Jason Finlinson. I live here in Spanish Fork, and part of a mountaineering club, Serac Club, out of Linden. And we get together as enthusiasts and help each other make these big trips on a minimum budget. So we got together this year and planned a trip to Peru to climb some mountains.
Well, my first question I want to ask you tonight is, what would a guy in his right mind want to head out to Peru to climb some mountain that's going to be risky and very dangerous? What would make a guy do that?
Well, it would have to do with mentality, I guess. There's a little bit of exhilaration of being up in the mountains. We chose Peru for the altitude of the mountains. The highest mountain there is Huascaran at 22,000 feet. It's a 6,000 meter peak. And if you get in the range up in the Cordillera Blanca, up in the Peru, up by Huaraz, it's about 8 hours north of Lima, you get up in that range and there's 20, 30, 6,000 meter peaks. And you have to get outside the U.S. to really hit peaks that high. So you get up in that altitude, and you go to test yourself, test your body, and for the beautiful views. Once you get on top of some of those mountains, and you look around, the clouds are thousands of feet below you. It really impresses. It puts an impression upon your mind.
Okay, for our viewing audience that's thinking about this, picking this up as a hobby, how expensive is this type of thing, like heading out to Peru?
Heading out to Peru, it can get really expensive. You start hiring guides, and I was looking up on the internet and comparing what we paid and what they paid. We had our trip leader, Greg Witt, who's a member of the club, put the trip together for $2,000. Airfare pretty much covered everything. You go to a guide service, you'll pay about $3,500 and without airfare. So plus another $1,000 for airfare. We saved a lot of money. So we paid a little bit, but we saved a lot.
Now, is it better to have some sponsors?
It's always good to have sponsors.
Did you have sponsors?
What we do is, as a club trip, Serac Club, we have a sponsor in Linden, up in Linden, Hanson Mountaineering. And what they do is they offer us discounts to gear in their shop when we join the club, and we sponsor them and purchase gear from them, and they sponsor us back by giving us the discounts for the gear.
Well, speaking of sponsors, as you can see, we've got a new sign here to enhance our set. This was made by, I made a new friend down at Creative Signs and Graphics, Brad Ford. He's sponsoring our show, and if you've got any sign or banner needs, you check out Brad. He does great work. He made this in a day and a half, and I really appreciate him. And so we're going to try to hook him up with some extra business, get some people to go down there. And so if you've got any sign needs, look him up. That's on the north end of town, down by Nature Sunshine. So I was thinking, I imagine it's pretty cold when you get up high. How did you guys stay warm the higher you got up?
A lot of clothes. It's we started out in Cusco, where Machu Picchu, the trail kind of originates in that area. You fly out to Cusco, the city, and it's at 10,000 feet elevation. Here in Spanish Fork, we're at about 4,600 feet, and the temperature is cooler. They have, even there down by the equator, there's a constant chill, and at night it gets real chilly. So the higher up we go, we start to bundle up. We get early starts in the morning to hike the mountain, so the snow's a little firmer, and that's when we're really watching, bundling up, making sure we stay warm, and just more clothes, more insulation, a lot of down, and synthetic insulation.
Okay, you mentioned Machu Picchu.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go to some footage right now that you took down there, and so we're going to hit that right now.
Machu Picchu was a town or a city that was being built by the Inca. The Inca is the king. A lot of people call the people the Inca, but the Inca is actually the name of the king. So he had this city that was built to school children of other kings and kingdoms that were part of his. And there's 4 different parts of Machu Picchu. It's made up of a religious section, a housing section, agricultural, and a scientific and religious section. And you see those as you pan across and visualize it all. Elevation about 7,000 feet, so it is a little lower, but it's a very impressive city being built right on top of the mountain on the ridge side. Drops off both sides, and they've developed ways to farm the terraces that they built on their land.
Well, as we can see in the footage, it is exhilarating. You got some awesome shots there. And I'm just thinking, where I don't speak much Spanish, just a word here or there, how did you guys communicate down there?
There's a couple of us, Grigwit and myself, both served missions in Latin American countries, and we're able to communicate enough to go to the bathroom and to get ourselves a Coke.
2 important functions, right?
Very, very important.
Okay. The footage we just seen is outstanding, man. So we're going to go to a commercial break right now. We'll be back, and Jason and I will talk about the equipment they use. Hey, welcome back to our show. It's on mountaineering tonight, and if you're just tuning in, our special guest is Jason Finlinson. He's a good guy, and so he's going to let us fill us in on a little bit of the equipment they used. Obviously not all the equipment, but just a few items here. And so I'm just looking here. What do we got here, Jace?
What we have is an ice tool, and I kind of showboat it with this other mountaineering axe. And they look somewhat similar.
Yeah.
But you notice some major differences. When you're out mountaineering, a lot of times you'll take your mountain axe. It's got a straight shaft. I got a point on it to bury into the snow. To use this kind of cane, and point just like the tool does. It's a little lighter weight, so you're not having to carry so much weight. Now you can use it to self-arrest. Plunge into the snow if you take a fall, and stop yourself from sliding. In comparison to the ice tool, the tool is a little more technical for technical ice climbing, where this is used for hiking, mountain hiking, mountaineering, hiking in the snow, glaciated climbs. This is when it starts to get a little steeper, you'll pick up your ice tool, and you usually take them in pairs. There's a little bit of recurve on the pick, so it digs into the ice.
Oh, like this? You'd have...
Yep.
Oh.
So you pair them together, you'll have leashes on them that'll lock your wrists down so you can climb and put weight on them.
Gotcha.
There's a little bend, a recurve in the shaft to reach around bulges. If you have a little ice bulge that you want to get behind, you can go up and over it so it doesn't hinder your pick placement.
Oh.
And then there's also an adze and a hammer for placement. If you need to chop steps, use your adze, which is the a shovel on the back. If you need to hammer in batons
Right
or
there.
gear, you've got a hammer on the back.
Beautiful.
A little bit different. We used both in Peru when we were doing our acclimatization climbs, building up altitude, go higher and higher. We'd use our light axes, mountain axes, and when we did a couple technical climbs, like our climb on Chopicalqui, we involved a little more technical sections. We used our ice tools.
Beautiful. Okay, you got some boots here,
Yeah.
footwear.
You talked about temperature,
Yeah.
and I've brought two boots to show you. The difference is temperature range in which they'll handle on your feet. We have the La Sportiva Nepal Extreme, which is an insulated leather boot. Really good for rock and alpine scrambling, where you're climbing up rock, climbing in snow, a little bit of everything. It's a lower altitude boot. Once you get over about 6,000 meters, which is around 20,000 feet, it doesn't insulate your foot as well, and your feet get a little chilly. I was on Chopicalqui with this boot, and toes got cold.
Boy, let's look at the spikes.
Didn't lose any, but toes got
Show our viewers the spikes.
cold. We have a crampon that adjusts to fit the boot, and it's got two front spikes and then some secondary points to engage the ice or the snow, and then spikes along the bottom for walking on, keep you from sliding.
Oh, if you wore those at the softball game, that could be a little dangerous, couldn't it?
Yeah, you take a
Sliding in the
slide
second.
home, and you can take out your catcher.
All right.
Here we have a Koflak. It's the Arctic Expedition boot. It's a boot that's used a lot on Denali, high altitude, extreme cold weather, and it's got a plastic shell to keep it dry. Leather you can waterproof it, but it does soak up the water, and it takes a little longer to dry out. And it's got an inner boot inside of it that is insulated, real heavy duty. And so you put your foot in there, lace it up, slide your boot into the plastic boot, and it provides an additional layer of warmth. So once you're above 6,000, these are kind of the preferred boot.
Okay. And what do you got down there on the end?
Just some backpack I took. A lot of times I just take a light day pack. Everything fits on real nicely. They have axle loops to slide them into and carry them.
And so when you're all strapped up, how much weight are we talking extra?
Well, to move camps, we've got a big backpack on. This pack's about 25 to 2,700 cubic inches. Our backpacks, when we start moving camps, are about 5,500 to 6,000 cubic inches. And those weigh anywhere from 55 to 60 pounds. When we're shooting for the summit, we try to go as light as we can, taking what we need to stay warm and to keep ourselves fueled. We try to minimize that 10 pounds, 10, 15 pounds with some of our other gear hanging off our packs.
Okay, you talk about staying fueled. I bet our viewers are wondering, because I am, what do you eat and drink up that high?
Anything you can. A lot of people with the altitude will experience some nausea. Had a couple guys that were throwing up, had the altitude sickness. And I'd like to drink a lot of water. Throw in a little Gatorade in the water, get the electrolytes, keep you fueled. I'm into almond and oatmeal and granola bars. A lot of guys like gummy bears, cram Snickers down you. So anything that you can eat at altitude when you're feeling sick is what we're cramming into us when we're going for the summit.
Okay, so we mentioned earlier about it being risky. Mm-hmm. What are the dangers in mountaineering?
There are a lot of dangers that can be minimized, or you've got crevasses that you can fall into. You've got serac and rockfall. And like our name of our club, our Serac Club, We named it after this danger. And serac is when you get a buildup of snow along ridges, crest lines of glaciated mountains. As the snow builds up and starts to push, and the glacier starts to push, when it hits a ridge or fall point, the huge ice blocks that fall off are seracs. Those are dangers. The cold weather is a danger, and the altitude sickness. It affects your brain, your lungs.
Now, we're going to show the viewers some more footage. What is that place called? Huascarán?
Huascarán.
That's it.
Is the tallest mountain in Peru.
22,200 feet.
We'd originally planned to go to climb Huascarán after we'd acclimatized, but there was a lot of the serac fall. There were about 4 zones on the mountain that were experiencing serac fall and avalanches, and there were a couple that died on the mountain while we were there, and a couple from I believe Japan. And so we opted out. The risks were too high this year for Huascarán, so we climbed the mountain right next to it, Chopicalqui, and it's 20,850 feet. So it's probably about the sixth or seventh highest mountain in Peru.
Well, we're going to go to a break. We'll be back. Hey, welcome back. We just seen some video footage, but I understand you've got some still shots.
We do. We've got some good shots. A buddy of mine, Glenn Merrill, and me stayed for an additional week. The rest of the crew went home and went and hit 3 more mountains. We hit Rus, Isinca, and Toclajú. And we've got some good video footage, or not video, some still shots of our time, of our extra week there in the Isinca Valley.
Okay. Now, I wanted to ask you this question. What's the difference between mountaineering, trekking, and spelunking? There's a term, spelunking. You didn't know I knew that, did you?
Well, spelunking would be anything underneath this world, caving.
Caving.
Another word for it. Trekking and mountaineering would be above ground. When difference between mountaineering and trekking, you're hiking through a mountain range, viewing the peaks from below, and it could be anywhere from 2 to 3 days to extended 21-month-long trekking trips where you're hiking and camping and viewing these peaks. Mountaineering, we're headed up those peaks, headed up to the top to view everything else from the top. We can just see everything, look down on top of it.
Okay, that clears things up. Now, I'm going to ask a question like I usually do. I'm thinking about the women in our audience. I know you got a wife and 2 kids. What did they think of Dad and the hubby slipping off to Peru and leaving them home?
Well, they don't like that sometimes. I try to make it up to them. About every other year, I take a nice long mountaineering trip, and in between those years, I take my wife Emily and we go traveling. Last year, we visited Costa Rica and spent a couple weeks there with my brother and his wife, and toured around, did some hiking and river rafting. So she gets a little bit of the fun.
So a little payback.
Yeah, a little payback.
Now, I was thinking of Mount Timpanogos in our own valley. Is that an interest to you? And what is your next climb?
Oh yes, Mount Timpanogos is what we use, Serac Club used to train on. We go up about any route you can. If you hit the west side of the mountain, there's a ridge called Everest Ridge. In the back 10-15 years ago, there's a team that went to Everest and used that ridge to train in the winter, and we did that last February or March, before spring came around, and climbed up in training for Peru. Upcoming, we got some trips that we'd like to plan. In a couple of years, we'd like to hit Denali in probably 2007.
Where's that at?
Mount McKinley up in Alaska.
Oh,
This next coming season, hopefully Mount Elbrus in Russia. It's one of the 7 summits. We would like to hit that, and possibly Ecuador. There's some mountains down there that sound pretty fun.
okay. To the young kids out there that maybe you've sparked an interest, or maybe some older people that would like to try this, are there some things? Do you have a website?
We do. The Serac Club has got a website. It's www.seraclub.org. Jump on there. You get all the information you need. There's people to contact. We've got president, vice president, people in charge of training, certifications, and you can get together, call them up, and email them, and get involved. That's what our club's there for, is to help train anybody who's new to the mountaineering and climbing. We do a lot of rock climbing, ice climbing, hiking, backpacking, and it's for you if you're interested.
So how do you spell Serac?
Serac is Serac.
Okay, for those people that want to log on.
Yep.
Okay. All right, we're going to close our show by looking at some more of these still shots. And one thing that's on my mind right now, Jay, is I can't believe a guy that's got family from Oak City can venture over to Peru and fulfill one of his dreams. Right?
It happens.
That's pretty neat. And I know that one of your other things that you do is you're a firefighter
Firefighter and paramedic for Provo City.
for Provo City. So we're glad you came. I've learned a
Happy to be
lot.
here.
Learned a lot, and hopefully our viewing audience has. And you remember how we sign off. Hey, remember, have a great day, and remember, we love you.